Hi everyone, I'm at my sister's house in Dagenham and her garden has had a bit of a makeover recently. So during the lockdown, my brother-in-law has been really busy and he has made quite a few improvements actually. And I'll show you at a glance what's going on in the garden. You can see there's quite a few raised beds and a few more trellises built. Start over here. So this is for the beans. You can see there's three tall trellises. They're about 6 feet high and they weren't very difficult to make, to be honest. So at the bottom we have these spikes and they're about 50 mils wide, and then we put posts inside each of these. So they've got spikes at the bottom and the spikes go down as far as you need to, and then put the posts in, and then we connected the posts, you can see, just with screws. Put a couple of screws on each end and we went all the way to the middle and then to the end. So these long pieces are about 4.8 meters long. So these pieces are about 4.8 meters long and the posts are six feet high. So we have 9 posts, and all along here you can see there's beans growing, mainly the Bangladeshi type. Along here, and here's the other row. You can see this purple variety. You can see the stems are already purple and they've reached a good height already. So, and then in front of these are the raised beds. So this was wood that was salvaged by my brother-in-law. Some of it was pallets and some that he just found in the local area. And he put it together, filled it up. The base of each of these raised beds was filled with what was in the compost bin to start with, and then we put some of the old garden soil, and then we covered it with card, and then we topped it off with new compost. So the top half of pretty much all of these beds have got new compost in and manure. So in this bed you can see it's all chilies. In this bed it's all chilies, and in this bed they're all chilies as well, chilies and Naga chilies as well. So green chilies, Thai chilies, and there's a purple variety. You can see this one's purple and the chilies are almost like black and purple. This is a Naga plant. And all of these along here are a combination of Dorset Naga and Bangladeshi Naga plants. Just here there's a couple of squash plants. And let's have a look here. So you can see here's the gooseberry plant. This is, I think, red currant or black currant, which I gave to my sister last year. You can see we've already got quite a lot of currants. And here are gooseberries. And this gooseberry plant actually, these gooseberries eventually ripen and then they turn into a reddish colour, very much like a grape. Very much like this one here. So the gooseberry plant's doing fine. And here's another currant plant. So another couple of squash plants here, and then just behind me here. And so here, for the big trellis here, where my sister normally grows her gourds. So she's got this very large raised bed where she planted several gourd plants along the front of it, and then here there's chard, a few leek plants just to separate them, and then there's beetroot here. And in this very long bed at the back here, where there's a net just along the back fence, so she has mainly in the ground there's onions at the front, and then we have, you can see she's scattered so many different types of seeds. So this is mustard. These are beetroots. We bought this and we transplanted them in here. And there are some tomato plants growing, which she probably wouldn't want them. Maybe 1 or 2 she'll keep, otherwise this area will get too congested. And then in the back you've got leek. So here's a leek plant, and we've been transplanting quite a few leek plants in this area. And then you can see in this area there's coriander growing. So you know, these are quite well spaced out, so the plants should grow quite well. And here is quite a big bush of quite a lot of tomato plants. I don't know what she will do with this. I don't imagine she'll keep much of them. And on the back fence, we planted, on this side, we planted one type of bean, and on this side, at the back, these are runner beans. And just in front of them, we have dwarf beans here. So these are just a few dwarf beans that have been planted in this bed at the back. We can see on the other side of the trellis, you've got the raised bed, and in there you have another 5 more gourd plants grown, and you also have some chili plants. So you have quite a few chilies and also a few aubergine plants here. Here is the wood chips that were left over. My sister will be using these, I'm sure, to create a few more paths. And she got these at a good value, actually. I mean, the first bag she got, she paid £30 for, and she thought that was great value. And then locally, some guys were here chopping a tree down, and they gave the whole lot, which was about 7 bags of these, for £30. Well, in fact, they gave £10, and my brother-in-law tipped him. So, you know, that's how they managed to create the paths. And here's loads more. Here's more wood chips in the compost bin. This is temporary. This area here, they got plans for something else next year. So here we have some beans growing at the front, in the middle row rather, and then you have achocha plants growing here. So they're doing okay. And this is a kumra plant. So if you're Bengali, you know what a kumra is. The English name for them, the closest one I've seen is I've seen shark fin melon, which the Oriental gardeners grow, and that is also a type of kumra that we grow. So it's very much like a pumpkin or a gourd, and you can even make sweet and savoury food out of it. This is Elaine Shag. This is something that grows very much in Bangladesh. My sister's got a couple of tubs of it. In here, in this pot, we've planted some taro in there, just like we did here a couple of weeks ago, and you can see they're already growing here, and you can see just underneath there. Let me lift this up. So the buds have started to shoot. This area here is interesting. So this is, we built this, me and my brother-in-law built this first one, this trellis just for cucumbers. And there are quite a few cucumber plants growing, and in between it, they did originally sow coriander, and you can see there's a few bushes of coriander growing. And then in between the coriander, you got these plants there, which are spinach. So we planted with some spinach plants left over, and we gathered that when the cucumber plants grow and they cover the trellis, there won't be much light going underneath, and chard and spinach, mustard, all these leafy stuff they're quite shade tolerant, so they should be fine. So here's another row of cucumber plants. And then just to tidy this part up, my brother-in-law, he built a few beds, not raised really, just to tidy the area up. And you can see all the wood chips. They've been quite generous with the wood chips all over this area, and it's really tidied the area up, and hopefully they'll get a lot less weeds. Some rose bushes along here, and this is a shark fin melon, which they grow quite large. It's a type of kumra. This is an orchid plant. It was in my house, in fact, for months, and I just didn't want to. It was never flowering inside the kitchen, so I didn't want to throw it away. So we just planted it here, see how long it survives. In this area, we are going to plant this grapevine. So, and then that will eventually climb this fence. You can see the trellis has already been made all along here. And there's still plants inside the greenhouse. These naga chilies, quite a few naga chilies, tomatoes, some winter vegetable, which I gave her. We have cabbages, kohlrabi, turnip. This is celery. She's got a few more squash plants left over, more tomatoes, more chilies, loads of squash plants. I don't know. I think she's making plans to plant some bean plants, which will go just outside the greenhouse in this patch there, and loads more chilies. So she's got to find space for these or give them away. And look, more tomatoes. So this is it. You can see the garden has had very much a makeover. My brother-in-law has been working extremely hard. He has made the most of the lockdown. This is true lockdown gardening, if there is such a thing. So it's quite impressive. We're now in the beginning of June. Hopefully, by the time I do another update of this garden, the garden will look a lot more luscious and a lot more greener, and hopefully we'll be picking some vegetables by then. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you can take some ideas from this to maybe make some improvements in your garden. Yes, it does cost a bit. They did spend a bit of money. However, it's the sort of thing that you only do once every several years. So hopefully, by making these improvements, their gardening will also be easier because the area is a lot more managed. And also, the plants are in pretty much new compost, pretty much everywhere. And that should give them a boost. By the way, there's a few more raised beds which they bought used. The gentleman delivered them. I think they bought about 6 of these. 6 of them, yeah, in fact. So they just laid 2 here. I think they have plans to lay a couple more just in this area, and I think that should be it. They'll have enough growing area. They do have plans to do something in this area next year. So it has been a great turnaround, actually, by my sister and brother-in-law. Big changes in the garden, and I can see that they're already enjoying growing stuff here and spending more time in the garden, especially my brother-in-law, who hasn't really been a very keen gardener. So he's spending a lot more time in the garden. They're growing a lot more things together. They'll have lots of vegetables growing, and hopefully the next time I do another video, you'll see a lot of things growing. My brother and sister-in-law did spend a lot of money, and they did salvage a lot of the material, but it's a lot of effort, and there are quite a few costs, but these costs are not for every year. So hopefully, after spending all this money, this will be fine for the next several years, well, next 5 years at least, and they won't have to keep building trellises every time. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my video. Please give me a thumbs up, and I'll catch up soon, and we can see how this garden changes, and hopefully it will be very, very productive this year. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon.